Well, last week we got the front door on and I put the front bowl where the front wall is going to be. I've got the second bowl kind of positioned behind the front, and that second bowl is actually going to go on the back wall of the sheep wagon, but I can put it up against the front bowl and try to adjust to where the arc of the bow is going to be pretty close to the front bow. So the first bow is really the easiest one to put on because it doesn't have to match anything in particular. The ones after that, I'd like to get them to match the front bow. Nothing is ever 100% perfect. You know, this is wood, it has its own personality. So if you're OCD, this might drive you nuts. But I like to get them close, but they may not be just 100%. So when I cut off the tail end of this first bowl, I had about 10.5 inches on either side that I cut off. This may not be the same. See, this one here, I'm at 13.5 inches. By the time I kind of seesaw this back and forth and get my circle, my arch to match the front bow. On the other side, I've got it positioned to where my tail is only a little over 7 inches. So I had to put this a little bit of an angle to get my arch correct. Now it's a little hard to see because we're looking at the front of my shop with all the windows and it's pretty bright there. But you can see I've got these two bows pretty close. They're within a 1/2 inch or less of being a carbon copy of each other. So I'm going to trim the tails off of this second bow, and that'll allow me to put it on the back, and I know it's going to match the front. So this will be the right side, and I'll mark it such. And this will be the left side, and I'll keep track of that. So this just gets to be kind of repetitive. I fit the next bowl, use my front bow as a pattern. I'm going to have 6 bows total, so I've got 4 bows to go in the middle here. Well, I got my bows on and I got to looking at it a little closer and something wasn't adding up. One thing has to do with a hole on the back of this kitchen cabinet. As I remembered when I took this off, there was a board attached to that and I couldn't remember quite how it was, so I went back and looked. And I was thinking it attached to a lateral slat, but I went back and looked at the pictures when I tore this apart, and actually a bow sits right here, not over here. So I have a couple pictures here that you can see that there is a bow that is attached to this kitchen cabinet right where this bolt hole is. So I started doing some more measuring. Now, I'm not exactly sure where that piece of bow went that was bolted to this kitchen cabinet, but I have a couple of bows here that still had the lateral slats bolted to them. And I saved them to kind of help remind me of what the spacing was to be this direction as they go over the top. But I'm also finding out they're going to show me that my bow spacing is wrong with 6 bows. There is a 1/4 inch bolt hole here that went through a bow. And then down here there is a bolt that attaches to the next bow. And the distance between those 2 bolt holes is just shy of 36 inches. And how I have my bows spaced now, I'm down between 27 and 28 inches with 6 bows. So this is evidently a 5 bow wagon, not a 6 bow. So over the years I have realized that sheep wagons come in different lengths. 12 foot is the most common, which is what this wagon is. So all that makes sense. And the most common number of bows on a 12-foot wagon is 6 bows. Gives you roughly 2 foot-ish distance between bows. There are a few 5s and there are a few 7s. 7s are usually for high mountain, heavy snow area. They're beefed up a little more. The 5 bow wagons are more of a lowland wagon because they don't have the snow load. This is a 5 bow wagon. So double check that. From the front of my front bow to the back of my back bow is 139 1/4 the way I have it set up right now. So half of 139 1/4, round that off to 140 inches, half of that is 70 inches. So if I were to go from the front of my front bow to roughly where that hole is, guess what? Between 69 and 70 inches. So one of these bows needs to disappear. One of these bows needs to be centered right in the wagon. And then about in 3 foot increments, roughly, is going to be a bow, a center bow, and then one to split the difference. So instead of 6 bows, this only gets 5. And this is one of those things, if it was my wagon, it'd get 6 bows. It just makes sense to me. And we do have snow in this country, but that's not how this wagon was. And that's the whole goal, is to build it back how it was. It had 5 bows, it'll get 5 bows. Well, all in all, it's a pretty easy fix. It's easier to take 1 bow out than put on 5 and realize I needed 6. So this is more what it's going to look like. So there's also some lateral slats that go horizontally up the side of these bows. There'll be one in the center, and then it looks like from the measurement of the old bows that they're about 13 inches apart. Well, from the top of this sideboard to the center on both sides is about 67 inches. So it works out at that 13-inch space that I'll have 5 lateral slats and then the center. So I need to cut out 11, and these are going to be, a strong half, 9/16 in there somewhere, by 2 inches wide. So the overall length of this wagon is 12 feet, but my bow's set in just a bit. So from the leading edge to the trailing edge of these bows, I'm at that 139 1/4 inches. Well, the way this wagon sits right now, it's kind of tippy on this front axle because of the bolster. It only has one pin, and it's got some play on it that it can rock pretty easily. And so before I put all these slats on, which is going to stiffen this up, I want to make sure my box is flat. So I measure from the floor up to the bottom of my bench on both sides. I'm 55.5 on that side, and I'm 55.5 on this side. So I'm going to put some 55.5-inch shims on the front that make sure that we're sitting not necessarily level, but we're going to set flat. So since the rear axle is stationary, that part of the body is never going to rotate as it's being driven, but this front can. So I've got some 55.5-inch shims. I'd like to say, okay, that's going to equalize that side with the back and stabilize this side as well. So now with this whole box stable, and I put the slats on, that should help keep this box stable, but yet still will allow this front axle to move as it needs to when it's being driven over some rough ground. Now with my side bows bolted on in place, I can take those measurements and move them to the top, and then I'll have my right spacing. See there, when I was 1/4 of an inch off. There we go. A little ahead of my game there. inch off. So this is a little difficult to get the camera in position where you can see because I'm overhead and then you're looking at the lights and it's kind of hard for that camera to pick it up. But this is the gist of it. I've got my center line, I've got my bows all equally spaced now that I have my sides anchored. And I'm just going to come down 13-inch increments and put my side slats on. This front bow in this corner, I might hold off on bolting it yet. This is where the stove goes, and I've got to accommodate the stove pipe as it goes up. So I'm going to wait on this one. I may have to shift it one side or the other. We'll see how that goes. But the rest of them I can go ahead and get bolted into place. So this is kind of the gist of putting the top on. It's kind of like setting trusses and purlins maybe, but bows and slats. I'll go ahead and pick away at this, get the slats on, and I'll pick you up next week and kind of show you where I ended up at. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.